What's going on, everyone? So Rui Hachimura has been a real staple for the Lakers this year. He just continues to shoot the three ball incredibly well. He's just one of the real glue guys on this team, in my opinion, um, and a guy that is going to be very much needed to the back half of the season and then also the playoffs come playoff time. Right? His size, his physicality, especially in those small ball lineups. For him to have such a lower center of gravity and be as physical and strong as he is, he's just a really strong physical presence. Defensively, he's obviously a liability out there, particularly out on the perimeter. I've talked very heavily. He is a three, or he's a four that has to mask around and pretend to be a three, right? And I think he's done about as good of a job as you possibly can for a guy that he doesn't have the tools to be a proper three, right? He's not the quicker, twitchier, athletic wing. He's more of the bigger, physical, lower center gravity wing, right? So he's a guy that I do think, though, because the Lakers lack that center, a true center, going to get a lot of small ball. So I do think Rui is going to be bigger of an importance now than he has been really in the last few seasons, right? But he's a guy that throughout this season he's been some bright spots. He can be inconsistent. He's been ridiculous the last 10 games or so. But he can be a bit of a roller coaster, right? He can be a little bit of an up and down player at times, right? You'll see the games where he just looks like he's the best player out there on the basketball court, getting to his spots, doing whatever he needs to do, rebounding the ball well, right? Knocking down the mid-range, beating guys off the dribble, just being physical and overpowering. And then you have times where he just can't buy a bucket, he can't finish at the rim, can't make a layup to save his life. He has games that are just ridiculously frustrating. He is a guy, though, that I do think I would prefer to come off the bench. I just think him off the bench, he could be more of a focal point. He'd get to play the four a little more, right? I just think having him kind of be I like the idea of, say, an Austin or Luka Doncic, Jordan Goodwin, or Vando, either way. But let's just say Jordan Goodwin for a guard point of attack with Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and then, say, Jackson Hayes. And now your bench is Gabe Vincent, Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, and then Alex Len. I just think that's much more balanced. I think that's much more versatile. I think you have just now Rui and Reeves can be more of a focal point on the offensive side of things, particularly on the bench, right? And you can run different lineups and different units and different looks. I prefer that for Rui Hachimura. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes if JJ ends up making that adjustment, makes that change, and moves Rui to the bench. Again, it's nothing against Rui. I love Rui, and I think he's done, again, a very good job of trying to be the player that they need him to be. But he's never going to be that. He's trying. Keyword is he's trying. And I do think he still has a ton of value. I do think he's a guy that could really make an impact on this roster, but you got to put him in the proper role. You got to slot him in the proper place. But to kind of go over what he's doing this year, because he's been shooting the three ball exceptionally well. 45 games this year. Started all 45 of them. He's averaging 32 minutes per game, which is the most minutes of his career. I mean, he's starting, all 45 games. So it's a big help as to why. He's taking 9.9 field goal attempts, which is funny because that's the exact amount he averaged last season. He's shooting 51% from the field, which is actually down from 53.7%. We'll get into that here in a moment. But from three-point range, he is taking 3.9 attempts compared to last season. He was taking 3.4 attempts. Last season, he shot 42%, which is exceptionally well. This season, he's shooting 43.4% on 4 attempts per game, right? The down is from 2-point range. He's averaging 6 field goal attempts from 2-point range compared to 6.5 last year, and he's shooting 55.9%, so basically 56%, to where he was shooting 60% last year from 2-point range. EFG of 59.5 compared to 61 last season. His free throw shooting is up 2 attempts, just like last year. I mean, literally to the number. and he's shooting 78.4% compared to 74% last year. And then he's averaging this season 5.2 rebounds, which is the third most of his career. His rookie season was his most at 6.1 and then 5.5. He has been much better rebounding the basketball this season. Don't get me wrong, he still has games and moments where you're just like, God, it feels like he's 6'8" for no reason sometimes, right? He'll have like one rebound or just like 0 rebounds or 2 rebounds, and he's just, hopefully, now that we're going to have to run a lot more small ball, he's going to be more relied on to have to be able to crash the glass and rebound. Hopefully he can get that rebounding total up, because that would be great if he could get back to being a 6 rebound a game guy, which is not that far off. Again, he's 5.2 average. He's averaging 1.4 assists. Guy is, you watch Rui play, he gets the ball more often than not, it's going up, which is fine. That's what he's there to do. He's averaging, I'll be nice, around up to a steal, half a block, and 13.4 points per game, which is essentially right on par with last year. He was averaging 13.6 points last year. So right on par again. Again, this is a guy that's really just done just very well and been very consistent for the Lakers. He's been a real staple for the Lakers. Problem is his playoffs, right? Now, last year in the playoffs, he was terrible, right? He went and dropped down to 7.8 points per game, 3.8 rebounds. He shot 50% from the foul line. He had an EFG of 46.1%, which was god-awful. His 2-point percentage was 41%. His 3-point percentage was 35.7%. Like, he was awful in that playoffs. But you look at the previous playoff run, right? That first stint with the Lakers, he was actually very good. He shot 55.7% from the floor. He was 48.7% from 3-point range on 2.4 attempts. He shot 58.7% from 2-point range on 5.8 attempts. Had an EFG of 63%, right? 88.2% from the foul line. He had 4 rebounds, or 3.6 rebounds. It's actually fewer rebounds than last year's playoffs, and 12.2 points, right? If we can get that, Rui, where he's giving you basically 12, let's say 12 and 5, while giving you, efficiency, at least stay where he's been during the regular season, that'd be great. But the thing is, he's done that with Washington. Right, you look at his Washington playoff stats, right? 61.7% from the field on 9.4 attempts, 60% from 3-point range on 3 attempts, 62.5% from 2-point range on 6.4 attempts, EFG of 71.3%. He had 7.2 rebounds, an assist, half a steal, half a block, and 15 points per game, right? Like, if you could get that, Rui, like, watch out, right? Like, that's the kind of guy we need. Right, we need Rui to have that consistency, but it's going to start with, these next 30 games. He really needs to kind of carve out a role, right? Be consistent. Like I said, he's been lights out these last 10 games or so. He's been very good these last few games, and it's a beautiful thing, right? Like, we need him to continue to progress and continue to play well and have these stints, right? Like, you look at his last 5 games. These are literally his last 5 games. 19 points, 21 points, 24 points, 11 points, 20 points. The guy's giving you basically 20 points a game on average, right? Oh, rebounding, right? 6 rebounds, 4 rebounds, 9 rebounds. That's the Rui we need. 6 rebounds and 3 rebounds, right? Like, that's beautiful. 3-point percentage, 60%, 50%, 66.7%, 20% on that was the 11-point game. That was the bad game, which happens. It's fine. And then 50%. Field goal percentage overall was 53%, 57%, 61.5%, 44%, and then 50%. That's the Rui that we need. And we were 4-1 during that stretch. Even the game we lost against Utah, he was 8 of 15 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 3. Defensively, he was god awful. But again, he's giving you the production you're looking for. He's been the player that you've been hoping that he can be. But you got 30 games to kind of carve out his role. You're going to get a lot of small ball center from him on the Lakers. But I am. I'm excited to see like how this works out, how he ends up performing for the Lakers, finishing this last end of the season, and then of course into the playoffs. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What do you make of Rui's performance thus far this year? Obviously, Luka's going to help him a ton. He's going to get so many open looks. He's just got to continue to knock him down and perform to that level. If he can maintain, that's huge, huge for the Lakers. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it either way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me not. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.